That's better.
Yeah.
Okay, so our topic is speech reading.
What is speech reading? It is defined as the visual differentiation and comprehension of the sounds in words and sentences. Speech reading is the proper term for what is more likely commonly known as lip reading. Hard of hearing, deaf individuals are known to rely on speech reading the most. Mainly focuses on the movements of the lips, but also takes body language, facial expressions, and situational cues into consideration.
Right, so my responsibility is that I interviewed a person and I put together the interview answers slide.
Okay, I interviewed my 3 roommates and did the what is speech reading slide.
I interviewed my one roommate and helped with presenting.
Okay, so our interview questions were, what do you think speech reading is? How accurate do you think speech reading is? How do you think deaf people communicate with those who may not know ASL? What do you think gets in the way of speech reading? Why is speech reading important? And do you think it is offensive to assume all people can speech read, all deaf people can speech read? Okay.
How do you think deaf people communicate with hearing individuals who don't know ASL?
I feel like they communicate through speech reading. That's just my perception of it.
Okay, why do you think that?
Well, I also agree that they would communicate through that way, and I would just personally put myself in the footsteps of being a deaf person, and I feel like without being able to hear, I would just resort to the fact of just reading someone's lips.
Okay.
That's what they're trying to say.
And any of you guys kind of give me a description of what you think speech reading is? Vicky?
I think, like, it's basically, I don't know, I'm putting myself in someone's shoes that's deaf, and I just think it's basically reading off their lips, concentrating, doing your best, kind of, to get their words out. I'm personally not that good at it, so I really don't know how people do it, but I just feel like that's basically what the reading is.
Okay, so you said you're not the best at it. What are some obstacles that you think get in the way of, like, trying to read someone's lips and understand what they're saying? Meg?
I feel like something that could get in the way is talking too quick. I mean, I know I tend to talk too quick sometimes, and I'm sure that would make it really hard for someone to read my lips. And even some of, like, the words we use may not be understood on the other end.
Okay. Do you feel like it might be offensive to assume that all deaf people can read lips?
I do. Just as what Megan was saying, like, some people might talk faster, or different accents might come into play where it could just cause someone's, like, lip reading or the way they say a word will not only sound different but look different for the deaf person.
Okay, great. All right.
So, 6 questions actually. So the first question is, what do you think lip reading is?
What do I think lip reading? When you try to determine what somebody's saying without being able to hear them by looking at the movements of their lips.
Okay. And how accurate do you think like people can get the message that you're trying to get across based on reading your lips, like percentage-wise?
I'd say if you're really good,
People communicate Like what?
Like, if you have to focus on someone or on something, like if you're driving or something and you're deaf, you can't read somebody's lips.
That's true, that's true.
But like basically anything like that, anything that is any sort of
Why is lip reading important?
probably wait, why is it important? So that you can communicate with deaf people, or no, wait, for the deaf person, why is it important?
Yes.
So that they can understand people when they're talking.
And then the last question is, do you think it's offensive to assume that all deaf people lip read?
I mean, probably.
Alright, I'm gonna stop recording.
Okay, what do you think speech reading is? I think speech reading is when somebody tries to have a conversation by reading the other person's lips. How accurate do you think speech reading is? I definitely don't think it's as accurate as other forms of communication. How do you think deaf people communicate with those who may not know ASL? If they don't know ASL, they can use an interpreter, they can write things down, or lip reading. What do you think gets in the way of speech reading? I think the speed that people talk can get in the way, and like if they're talking with their hands or like other distractions around them. Why do you think speech reading is important? I think speech reading is important because it serves as a basic way of communication, or it could be a basic way of communication for people. And do you think it is offensive to assume that all deaf people can speech read? Yeah, I do think it's offensive because not everybody can speech read. Not everybody who even can hear can speech read. Alright, thank you.
Alright, so the interview answers. So the answer to the first question, what is speech reading? It is defined as the visual differentiation and comprehension of the words, of the sounds in words and sentences. It is about 30% accurate. From even the best lip readers can only receive about 30% of what is being said by the other person. So they have to use a lot of other context clues to figure out what the other person is talking about. And how do deaf people communicate with those who may not know ASL? Some people don't mind speaking, some deaf people, and using their voice, while some people communicate by pen and paper, texting, emailing, or anything that doesn't require their voice. And some things that get in the way of speech reading are accents, facial hair, piercings, especially tongue piercings since they're so reflective, and mumbling, not enunciating your words, or if you cover your mouth with your hands while you're talking, or just not showing like any emotion when you're speaking. And it's important, speech reading is important so that deaf people who rely on speech reading can understand what is being said by a hearing person. And yes, it's very offensive to assume that all deaf people can speech read. So, because most hearing people can't even speech read, so why should we hold them to that standard? So our project, how did it go? I think it went great despite everything that's been going on with online learning. We still managed to come together and plan as a group on Zoom, and I was able to interview somebody through Zoom, and their answers were pretty much what I expected of somebody who didn't know anything about deaf culture or had never even heard of it. And the only thing I do differently is to be able to interview everybody in person and do this in person.
I think it went very good as well. I really enjoyed getting to interview my friends to see what an outsider's perspective is on speech reading. I was also able to learn a little bit more of the deaf perspective on this topic. Online learning definitely made it difficult to coordinate responsibilities and meeting times, but my group members worked really well together. We were able to all make important contributions.
Overall, our project went very well, I believe. I enjoyed learning about the topic myself of speech reading, and it was interesting to inform my friend about the deaf community and speech reading as well. overall, our group project went very well and we worked together good.
Okay, those are just our references.